Good evening, National Baptist Convention, and welcome to this evening's NBCUSA Hope Health webinar, TempleCare Matters. Before we get started, want to thank everyone for your support during the NBCUSA Hope Health Fair during our annual session in Baltimore last week. Thank you so much for your support. We want to acknowledge our national leadership, including our president-elect. Starting with Dr. Jerry Young, our president, Dr. Boise Kimber, president-elect, Dr. Alvin Edwards, our general secretary, Dr. Alvin Love, the chair of the Federal Faith-Based Development Initiative, and of course, Dr. Michael Miner, the national director of NBCUSA Liaison to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. My name is Nettie Johnson, and I'm blessed to be the host for today. Now, in this evening's TempleCare Matters webinar, we're going to share about September's suggested health observances. And these include National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month, Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month, and we're going to talk about the NBCUSA Hope Sickle Sabbath Sunday. Now, that's a tongue twister, Sickle Sabbath Sunday, which is September 15th. We're also going to talk about an initiative called Sisters Against Breast Cancer and have an update for them. This webinar is part of our continuing series of First Tuesday TempleCare Matters webinars. We're here today because of the convention last week. And in each of these sessions, we delve deeper into the 7 pillars of TempleCare Matters. It's time, before we get started into the other topics, we have to have our triple-demic update. And this is our spotlight on COVID-19, the flu, et cetera. Now, we are still, y'all, in a COVID surge during this summer, as we're continuing to see a lot of COVID-19 activity across the country. As reported by Dr. Mandy Cohen, CDC director, she said that 48 states across our nation are reporting some high or very high levels of COVID-19 in wastewater. And the thing is, a blessing of this is that the current data shows that these higher levels are not translating into similar increases in emergency room visits and hospitalizations or deaths. We just thank God for that. It's a similar trend that we did see in the summer of 2023, but nonetheless, this is not like just a common cold. As a matter of fact, we have information that was shared from Dr. Stuart Ray, who is a professor of medicine and oncology in the Division of Infectious Diseases at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. And he told Today.com that in just the last couple of weeks, he is still seeing some pretty severe complications of COVID, things even going as far as including blood clots in the lung, and it is happening in people that are young. So while we do want to be aware, and we're not seeing as many deaths and hospitalizations, we want to remain aware. The surge is being fueled by the emergence of a highly transmittable variant that is called a flirt strain like KP3 and KP3.11. Now, vaccines do provide some protection against these strains, but these new variants are different. And so there are some vaccines that tend to be more helpful towards the new variants that we are seeing today. Particularly the updated mRNA vaccine, one from Pfizer and another one from Moderna, will actually target one strain, the KP2 strain, according to the FDA. And there's a third vaccine update that's available from Novavax that does not use that same technology, and it was improved August 30th, but it does target earlier JN1 strains. So basically, there are a number of immunizations that are out there that are targeting these new strains, and we want you to be aware, as we always do every month, to be aware of the prevalence of COVID, the flu, and other viruses. The precautions, remind us to take precautions, know your risk, and then decide what action is going to be best for you. Prayerfully take appropriate actions. All righty, so let's go into the next part of our webinar, and that is going to be our discussion about National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. That is, this health observance is dedicated to educating not only children, but more importantly, the families on how to prevent childhood obesity. This is a month where we have a number of opportunities for families, for communities, for schools, and we hope that the churches will also take advantage of the education and information that is out there to drive awareness and to share on how we can educate children and their families on how to deal on this health issue. This month is also a wonderful opportunity, everyone, for parents to learn more about how we can help our children's health, as we're constantly challenged to do so as parents, grandparents, teachers, caregivers, finding ways to prevent childhood obesity. Check with your pediatrician, take advantage of the information that is out there, and apply it as it is applicable to you and your family. Now, as we're moving on, we want to now go and check in with our newest team member of the NBCUSA Hope Ministry. We are so excited to welcome Dr. Janice Nelson, and she is going to moderate for us, y'all, a very important panel discussion. This is around Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month and the Sickle Cell Sabbath Sunday. Dr. Nelson, turning it over to you.
Thank you, Natty. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So I want to briefly share with you a video talking about sickle cell disease. So let me just get my computer set up so that we can do this. Oops. All right, so we want to talk about sickle cell disease. So sickle cell disease in general is a lifelong inherited genetic disorder. So you are born with it, you do not develop it, okay? So what is sickle cell disease? We're gonna now look at this video, if I can get it to play. And of course, my video is not acting properly, but give me just 1 second. We want to start here.
Okay, we're still muted on our end.
I'm sorry, say that again. You didn't hear me?
No, we're still muted.
I'm muted?
We can't hear the video.
Oh, okay. It's playing loudly for me. Well, we'll just go to the next part.
Okay.
So red blood cells, as you saw in the picture, become misshapen. And when they become misshapen, it blocks the ability of the red blood cells to do what their function is, and that's to carry oxygen to all the tissues in the body. So when these cells get sickle, they stick together and they block blood vessels. And this is the main cause of pain, organ damage, and anemia. This is caused by a sickle cell gene that tells the body to make an abnormal form of hemoglobin. And we know exactly where that abnormality happens. Is glutamate is an exchange for valine. And this is what causes this abnormal form of hemoglobin. So how do you get sickle cell disease? So you get sickle cell disease from your parents. You get 50% of your gene from your mother, 50% of your gene from your father. So again, you're born with it. In this scenario, you have a father who has sickle cell trait. That's what A is normal hemoglobin, S is the trait. Mother has an abnormal, she also has trait. So when you have a child, you have a 25% chance of having, for each pregnancy, a child that has sickle cell disease, which is the SS. You have a 25% chance of having a child that has normal hemoglobin, which is AA, or a 50% chance of having a child that has the trait. So in this particular scenario, father passed on an A, mother passed on an A, that pregnancy, the child has normal hemoglobin. And the second option, father passes on an A, mother passes on an S, the child has sickle cell trait. Another possible scenario, father passes on an S, mother passes on an A, this child has sickle cell trait. The last scenario, father passes on an S, mother passes on an S, and this child has sickle cell disease. And so why is this important? It's important to have a foundation for the discussion that we're going to have in just a few minutes with our panelists. So sickle cell disease is most common in people who have ancestry from Africa, South America, Caribbean islands, Arabia, Mediterranean, places like Turkey and Greece. So it's important to understand that sickle cell disease is not a Black disease. It occurs in all ethnicities. In America, about 1 in every 400 to 350 African Americans are born with the disease. In Hispanics, about 1,000 to 1,400. So there are about 3.5 million Americans who have sickle cell trait, and 1 in 10 African Americans have sickle cell trait. So let's say, for instance, we're in a church. There's 100 people in church. Probably 10 out of those 100 people have sickle cell trait, whether they know it or not. There's an estimated about 100,000 individuals in the United States who have sickle cell disease. Again, it's a global disease. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to introduce to you our panelists, Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown is one of my patients that I manage at UConn Health in Farmington at our New England Sickle Cell Institute. We were supposed to have a second panelist, Tanya Mitchell, out of Dallas, Texas, from UT Southwestern. Unfortunately, Tanya is actually in the hospital right now being evaluated. She was found unconscious earlier today. Again, the unpredictable nature of sickle cell disease. So it's important for us to have this discussion. So Marcus, if you would, could you tell us your age, what kind of sickle cell disease you have, and let us know how you first discovered that you had sickle cell disease or how your parents were informed of your sickle cell disease.
Well, I'm Marcus Brown from Hartford, Connecticut, 48 years old. Um, I first found out from my mother that I had sickle cell, and I started getting sick around the age of 2. So from then, the age of 2 until now, uh, dealing with complications and uh, everything that goes along with sickle cell.
So your family was notified when you were 2 years old because you started being sick. So one of the things that we need to know in general is that sickle cell disease starts to affect individuals at a very young age, and it continues to affect them throughout their lifespan. What kind of challenges have you had in managing your disease, say at home, and when you engage in medical care? What kind of issues have you had to deal with?
I go back to grade school, like just finishing out the school year without uh, having to be in the hospital was a challenge. I was in the hospital 3 to 5 times a year growing up. As a child, didn't really have any issues with doctors until I got older. And shockingly, I was in the South Florida, uh, dealing with the difficulties uh, with doctors. And I guess doctors that don't listen to their patients. But luckily, I was blessed to get a hematologist down there, and he uh, he was the one that got me on the path of preventative uh, measures because that's when I first started on hydroxyurea.
So for our
Go
audience,
ahead.
hydroxyurea is one of the medications that individuals who have sickle cell disease use to help improve their red blood cells. It makes the red blood cells stronger and bigger, hold on to water and oxygen better so that it can do the work of the red blood cell. Hydroxyurea, you can tell whether or not a person is taking it because there are measurements you can do on the individual red blood cell. And so as the person takes the medication, it modifies their red blood cells. So their red blood cells get bigger. And you can measure the difference between when they started taking the medicine and over a period of time of taking the medicine. Are there any other treatments or things that you do to help manage your sickle cell disease to help give you a better quality of life?
Yeah, well, that same doctor, he introduced me to a treatment called apheresis, and I basically call that the human oil change because they take out red blood cells and they give you donor cells. So I do that once a month, but I didn't always have that. When I moved back to Connecticut, it was some time before UConn Health got UConn Health got it, and Dr. Maria and yourself, Janice Nelson, came along and changed that whole thing. And like it's such a blessing because um, when you have you have hematologists like yourself that actually understand and actually you go through it with us. Like I you're the type of doctor that you don't want to see any of your patients, in any type of pain. So when I see I have physicians that's a godsend. So I thank God for you having uh, starting coaching content. You know, 'cause without you kind of help, I really don't know what I would do, especially tonight.
No, thank you. I didn't pay him to say that, but thank you for saying that.
No,
I think that it's important to highlight that one of the treatments that Marcus undergoes is apheresis, which is a very specialized blood transfusion that we use a machine. And so I highlight that because last week at the convention, there was a blood drive to collect blood from the Red Cross. And so in moving forward, we have to be very conscientious about donating blood because the pool of blood that most Black people who have sickle cell disease get is Caucasian blood. And so as Black people, if we donate blood, people like Marcus who need blood will have less complications. There are very small antigens, which are like little allergic reactions that people develop over time from being exposed because there are very small genetic differences in the blood of a Caucasian and the blood of a Black person. And so once you've been exposed to this, then you develop antibodies or again, these allergies. So as a group, if we donate blood, then we can eliminate one of the complications that the individuals who have sickle cell disease go through because they do need this very, very deliberate life-saving measure. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nettie and Marcus. Don't go away because we're going to have more questions for you after we get through some more of the program. Nettie, back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Thank you, Brother Brown. And of course, we are going to be in prayer for Tanya Mitchell in her situation and all who are challenged with this disease. Thank you so much for your sharing. All righty, New Hope. I said New Hope. All right, let's move. We're going to move on to the Let's Move National Baptist update. That's what I'm trying to get out. So let's talk a little bit about this. Every month we have a different focus, and the focus for the month of September is going to be on strength training. Now, the physical activity guidelines for Americans say for us to have generalized good health as far as physical fitness is concerned, we should really work to get in about 150 minutes of moderate activity or 75 minutes of high intensity activity every week. And in addition to that, they recommend that all adults participate 2 days in some type of muscle strengthening activity that involves all of the major muscle groups. That's just 2 days per week. Why? Because strength training and maintaining our muscle mass helps with everything from metabolism to our actual strength, our endurance, our bone density. It can actually improve our overall quality of life and our ability to do everyday activities. We call that functional fitness. Now, this is particularly important, brothers and sisters, as we age, because as we get older, our muscle tone tends to automatically decrease. So doing some type of strength training will help to counteract that. And we can see benefits that go in line with disease prevention, bone density, better mental health, better brain health, better cognition, flexibility. And what's really important is a decreased risks of fall and injuries, which is a very large concern as we begin to age. So for this month, we have a number of resources that are available. Some are just written instructions with a couple of exercises that can go across the span. All ages, all levels of functional fitness can be able to do these. We have written instructions as well as video links that you can take a look at for some free resources to guide you through that. So we would love for you all to take advantage of this. And if you have not yet started to add some strength training with a little bit of focus and intention into your daily activity, please do so. Also, we want to remind everyone to continue to go on ahead and to put in your information into your trackers and to report your monthly movement minutes. Up on the screen, you've seen the links, the bit.lys to get that. And all of this information is in the Let's Move National Baptist Band. That's your core source for information. And because on next month, when we come into our TempleCare Matters webinar, we will start back with the $100 giveaways for those that are tracking, turning in their information. So remember, participation pays. So if you participate, you do your part. There may be a little bit of extra blessing for you, but the main blessing are the steps that you are taking to own your health. So we do look forward to sharing with you more about that. All righty. So let's keep on moving. And we want to come up with a little bit of information. We have a news flash that the NBCUSA Hope Baptist Voice Special Edition is now available. Y'all, if you are in the Zoom or if you're on social media, go on ahead and put a 1 in the comments if you have seen any of our editions of the Baptist Voice, the special editions that are Hope Ministry focused. This edition is really special. It's once again sponsored by the NIH All of Us Research Program, and we have a rich diversity of articles about Trinity Wellness. We talk about that in our Hope Ministry and Ambassador training. Now, if you would like a copy of this magazine, just let us know. You can email us at info@hopenbc.com, and we'll be sure to get that out to you, and then share the information with others, and more importantly, take appropriate action with that information, because it's all to help us to live well, to live better in mind, body, and spirit. All righty. Next month, we are going to kick off our inaugural Sisters Against Breast Cancer event. And this is called Sisters in Step to Achieve Success Against Breast Cancer. And y'all, we are absolutely delighted to have our national co-chair, Lady Estella Bryant, and she's going to share a little bit more about this event. Lady Bryant, welcome. Can you go ahead and click that? There we are. How are you?
Hi, good evening, Sister Nettie. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we're really excited to hear about what is going on. But before you get into that, for those that are unfamiliar with Sisters, can you provide, or Sisters, will you provide an overview for us about what it is?
Yes, good evening, NBC USA family. Again, I bring greetings from the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church of Liberty City in Miami, Florida, where my husband, Reverend Dr. Jimmy L. Bryant, is pastor. Sisters. So, Sisters Against Breast Cancer. The acronym SISTAS is for sisters in step to achieve success. And next month in October, we will launch our convention-wide Women of Colors Breast Cancer Awareness Month campaign. And I know many of you on the line and those in your congregations are very familiar with, I know here is the Susie Coleman Breast Cancer Awareness March. We have various organizations that gets involved in the month of October with Breast Cancer March. But we are launching our own breast cancer awareness from NBC USA, and we're really, really excited about it. We had this conversation on one of our meetings that if they're doing it, why aren't we doing it when our own race has the highest statistics? More white women are diagnosed with it, but more Black women die from the disease. So I'm just happy to be a part of this.
Oh, and we're so happy that this is happening. Now, we understand that you have some special themes that are coming up for each Sunday in October. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, coming up, actually starting in September, we have 5 suggested themes that we would like to share from NBC USA so that our various churches can join us and become a part of this. On Sunday, September 29th, we will have our pre-kickoff Sunday. Sunday, October the 6th, would be Sisters Against Breast Cancer. And on Sunday, October 13th, Breast Cancer Survivor Sunday. Sunday, October 20th, Brothers Wear Pink Sunday. And I know we get a lot of laugh from our men's, but our men at our church, they feel that strong men wear pink. That's not an issue with that. Sunday, October the 27th is our closing Sunday, where your activities for that month, you will have a climax. And normally at my church, we always participated in the various walks, but after I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020, we started our own walk from our church and invited other breast cancer survivors. And we've been doing that now since 2020. That Saturday is our walk, and then that last Sunday is usually our climax where we will have a breast cancer survivor that speaks. All of the breast cancer survivors would be honored at that particular. And in our walk, I just want to say, if you have never had your own, it's very easy to do. You know, we're tech savvy now. You invite the community, you get with the radio, and what we do, and you can do the same. You'll be surprised how many organizations need to participate in the community. We invite our local police department and police explorers. I basically got in touch with the major, and they have been doing it every year. And they were doing things for breast cancer, but now they're just a part of us. They walk the walk with us in the community, and they wait to get that invitation from us. And it really turns out to a great event. But since this is our first year, we don't have a robust toolkit. However, we'll be sharing the general thematic language for each Sunday, like what I just did.
That's fantastic. I love the detail of each Sunday, and that can bring such synergy when churches across the nation are focusing on a specific topic and a specific element in lifting awareness around breast cancer going through October. Are there any other activities that you have planned for next month?
Yes, we know that we got a late start, and a lot of our churches was not able to get the breast cancer, the mammogram bus at their churches. But what we are basically asking all of our local churches to do is start a walk or run activity, just like what I suggested. And for ours, we just have a registration fee. And what we would like for those funds to be used at NBC USA so that we can help underprivileged women get mammograms. So we are asking them this year, if you are already having a walk, like we have been since 2020, we would change our theme this year to Sisters Against Breast Cancer. So what we would want the walk would be the step, walk, run. We would just change it to Sisters, use that theme, and we're asking everyone else to do the same, so that we since we did get a late start, and we're going to be sharing that toolkit that we have with everyone also tonight.
I love the focus and the purpose. Of course, I love that you say a walk, being the physical fitness thing. I love that part. But the fundraising is so important because we know that screening does truly save lives, and being able to get mammograms to those that might otherwise have a challenge, and being able to have that happen. I think that's so great. So you know that we ladies, we like to dress. We like a little swag. Will there be any of that available in connection with this outreach?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. With this initiative, we will have 3 individual participant sisters swag bundles.
Okay.
So the basic bundle will include a cooling towel, a ribbon, a lapel pin, a trucker's hat, ink pen, t-shirt with our sisters logo on it for just $40.
That's a lot. That's a lot for $40.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we would have the deluxe bundle. That will include the basic bundle plus a Stanley type cup and ribbon for $50. And then finally, we will have the team leader bundle that includes the deluxe bundle plus a polo shirt for just $50. And all of these items that I'm mentioning now will be available online for orders through HopeNBC.com website beginning this week.
That is fantastic.
So all you have to do, I will repeat again, it is HopeNBC.com, and you should be able to go to the website this week to put in your order.
I think that is so fantastic. If somebody could drop the NBC website into the chat on in the webinar and online, that would be fantastic, because we don't want anybody to miss out on that. And those cooling towels are phenomenal. They are really phenomenal. Lady Bryant, is there anything else that you would like to share? This is extremely excited and a very needed outreach, and I'm sure churches across the nation are excited to take part.
Yes, I would just like to share that we do need as many of you that are on the line tonight to get the word to your pastor and your local church. If no more than following the themes for the different Sundays that we have that you participate in, start your own walk. I mean, like I said, it doesn't have to be major. The walk can grow. Start with your own congregation. And the way that you can get other individuals involved, all of your local churches. I'm the mission president, so I know all of the president of the missions throughout my area. So I do a lot of networking with them. And then I reach out to them about their breast cancer survivors at their church and invite them to our walk. So that's how you can start out. And you would be surprised that a lot of the individuals would love to participate because they do want to get the word out. And so I'm basically saying, start your own walk at your own church, in your own community, and let's promote our NBCUSA breast cancer awareness, because it's needed.
Yes, yes. I can imagine great collaborations between health ministries and sisterhood women's ministries in the churches. I think that's great. And you said it multiple times, and we know when we hear multiple things in the Bible and scripture, that means it's important. So this is important. Lady Bryant said, let's start our own walks, and let's not despise small beginnings. Every step that we take can truly be a blessing in so many ways. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much, Lady
Thank
Bryant, for your
you.
sharing and for leading this very important effort for the National Baptist Convention. I appreciate it. Y'all, we have covered a lot this evening. And as Dr. Miner and whoever is in this seat says every single month, the best part is coming up now, and that's where we want to hear from you. So we are going to open this up for our general questions and answers. You can type any questions that you may have in the chat, or you can raise your virtual hand. I believe Dr. Miner is running the show in the background, so if you can kind of help cue me into any questions that we may have, and we will do our best to capture and get them answered. Okay, we have online questions about what are some of the newest treatments for sickle cell? What are some of the newest treatments for sickle cell? Dr. Nelson?
So I am glad you asked. There have been, in the last 5 years, 3 new medications. One is called crizamizumab. And crizamizumab, or Adakveo, is a medication that's given IV once a month. And the goal of this medication is to coat the red blood cells so that they don't stick together and they don't block blood vessels. And so its job is to prevent pain. So I compare it to like getting an oil change. In order for your car to function, you have to have oil that's in it to keep everything smooth and running together so that things don't stop. And so if these individuals who it works for, uses this medication, it can literally change their life. It's a disease modifying therapy that some of our patients who started it, say 3 years ago, have not had one hospitalization, have not had any pain, would swear by it. Marcus, are you on this medication?
Yes, I'm on it,
Would you
and
like to
I
share your
definitely know.
experience with it?
Yeah, I definitely noticed a difference. I believe I've been on it since 2020, because I started that and I started another medication called Oxbryta the same year. So I definitely noticed a difference besides the uh, getting old pains. Uh, the sickle cell pains have been controlled. Uh, yes, I do multiple therapies. Yeah, technically, I do 4 therapies, but I think with my type of sickle cell is needed because it seems to be very aggressive.
So
That's
one
such
of
a,
the, I'm
go
sorry.
on. Oh, go on.
So the other medication that Marcus stated is called Oxbryta, and Oxbryta's job is to improve your hemoglobin and hematocrit. So in individuals who have sickle cell disease, they're chronically in a state of anemia, meaning that their hemoglobin and hematocrit numbers are much lower than yours and mine. So depending on what type of sickle cell disease you may have, their hemoglobin or hematocrit may be 7. And typically for an adult, it ranges between 12 and 14. So if you're constantly living in a place of 7, you suffer from fatigue, could have shortness of breath. It can definitely affect your quality of life. So having a medication that improves your hemoglobin, sometimes as much as 2 or 3 deciliters per. So somebody whose hemoglobin is 7 can go to 9, and that's a significant improvement for them. So they're able to breathe better and they're able to move around better. One of the other medications is called Indari, and it's a medical grade supplement that is used to help them to make healthy red blood cells. So there have been some improvement. There are some newer medications that our program, we do a lot of research, so our patients have access to participate in clinical trials where other programs may not have that. And so we're on the forefront of looking for therapies that can improve their overall health. I'm sorry, you were getting ready to say something, Ms. Johnson.
Oh no, that's fantastic and extremely encouraging. Now we're before I get to the second question, we're streaming across 7 social media platforms, and there's several comments from individuals that are very encouraged by your sharing your personal experience, Marcus. So I just wanted to let you know that you may not see these comments that are coming up depending on because you're in the Zoom. But thank you so much for your sharing. Another question, Dr. Nelson, that came up, it says, why are the newest treatments so expensive?
So one of the newer treatments is a genetic treat therapy. And so when you have treatments that aren't approved and readily available for the masses, then it does tend to be very expensive because research is expensive.
Yes.
And so it's not a method to deter people from getting treatment. So I tell people all the time, if you're interested in gene therapy, don't think about the price tag. Just tell me that you're interested and we'll figure out how you get it. And it's like, because the only way for therapies to become readily available to the masses is for people to have access to them. So we figure it out. We've had several patients who've had bone marrow transplants successfully through research. But the only way that, again, the price tag comes down is the more often it's done successfully, then the lesser it becomes. But when something is brand spanking new, like that Cadillac that you had your eye on, when it hits that showroom, that 2025 model, it's at the top of the food chain. But if you give it a couple of years, you can go in there and maybe afford that one that you was looking at a few years ago. So it's the same concept when it comes to treatment. If it's something that's brand spanking new, it's going to cost more money because of the research and all of the things that happened before it was available to you. But if you give it a little bit of time, that price tag will come down over time.
I appreciate your analogies and explanations are so great. Like the oil change example, and now talking about the car, I'm thinking of iPhones. And I usually wait a little bit, but in these instances, waiting is not necessarily improving their quality and quantity of life. So I love that you say you make it happen. Thank you for the tremendous work that you all are doing. I have another question regarding the NBCUSA Sisters Breast Cancer Toolkits. Can churches purchase sisters bundles in bulk? So do we have that, Lady Bryant? And can you answer that particular question?
Your question was, can you order the toolkits in bulk?
Yes. Can they purchase toolkit sisters bundles in bulk?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
At the site. And I did put it in the I believe I put it in the HopeNBC.com. Yes.
Okay.
Sisters, he correct. Sister Carpenter put it, and sisters, yes.
Okay.
The website to order is there.
HopeNBC.com/S-I-S-T-A-S. So it's sisters spelled out with dashes, and it's a S, not a Z. So we got that.
Yes.
So they can order in bulk. And you can also call. I see Dr. Miner gave us some additional information that if you want to call, you can call 662-298-3584, extension 103 for bulk orders. So if somebody can grab that, I will try to copy it over.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Back to Dr. Nelson, we have a question. We were talking about costs and things coming down. Does health insurance cover some of these newer, very promising treatments?
Yes. So in the state of Connecticut, I feel that somebody has to advocate for their patients. So once a year, annually, our state insurance or our Connecticut Medicaid has an opportunity for you to advocate for medications that become available. So every year, I sit on the phone call and I wait for my turn. And then I say, we have these medications, they need to be available for our patients. And because I do that, our Title 19 patients have access to these medications without having to have a prior authorization. If we order these medications for them, they have access for them. And it doesn't matter the cost of them, because somebody is saying, we need to have this because we don't have anything else. They've allowed it to happen. And so, yes. So depending on where you are, there are different venues and avenues to make that happen. But you have to have a champion, somebody who's willing to put in the work and time to make sure that those things are available for their patients.
Fantastic. Yes, the connection and having other people on your advocating in a team. We're in an election cycle, not only this huge national election, but also things more down on our local levels as well. How can we advocate as you bring up advocacy? What are some, just maybe one or two steps that we can encourage individuals to take from a system-wide, maybe a legislative or a federal, local, on that kind of level to support sickle cell treatments, research, et cetera, and individuals that have the disease?
So if you want to make a change, you have to be the change agent. And so what
Amen.
we do as a group is we lobby the state, and we take people like Marcus, who is willing to share his story. So because I can say from a provider standpoint what I see my patients go through, but as a patient, to talk about what they actually experience is more impactful than what I can say. And so collectively, we're a 2-3-person show. We go, we talk about, okay, these are the things that they experience. Marcus shares what their experience actually is. And then we talk about the numbers and the impact that if we make changes, how it can improve things. And that's how we're able to get change, because you're able to get someone to champion with you to say, you know what, I feel what you're saying. I think I could take this bill and do that, or we can create a bill to allow access for this, that, and the other, or maybe we can make more medications available or different treatment venues available, or even transportation, because transportation, wherever you live, is a huge issue for people who need to get to a medical appointment. And so having a single voice saying the same thing makes things move.
Wonderful. And again, the collective coming together that we do here is so important. That's why we're so grateful that you are here. There's a lot of questions coming up. We have a couple more as we're also watching the clock. Can you speak to life, the longevity of life? What is the life expectancy? How long are people living with sickle cell these days?
So sickle cell disease used to be a disease of childhood. So people didn't live out of their childhood. There was a study that was done, it's called the H.O.P.E study, that found out that if you give young children daily doses of penicillin, starting at 6 months of age until they were 5, that the infections that killed them no longer affected them. And so now that we have instituted certain things, the use of hydroxyurea and other blood transfusions, people on average live to be 40, 50, 60 years of age. There are still people who die prematurely because pain is horrific. When you think of sickle cell disease and the clumping together of those blood vessels, we have blood vessels from our head to our toes. And so those blockages can occur from your head to your toe. And if that can happen from your head to your toe, then that means anything can happen. You can have a stroke, you can have a heart attack, kidney disease. So we're trying as best we can to help prevent as much organ damage as possible so that people can live longer. So we now have people who are in their 40s and 50s who are suffering from the same things that the general population does, who now have hypertension, who now have diabetes, who now suffer from obesity because they are living longer. So we are making strides. We haven't gotten to where we want to be, because I tell Marcus all the time, I want him to be 80 years old and we're sitting, in side-by-side swings or rocking chairs sharing our stories, because that's my goal for everybody who has a chronic illness.
Wonderful. That is so wonderful. Here's a very specific question. And you mentioned, children and the penicillin program that was making big changes and differences. This person asked, my fiance and I both have the sickle cell trait. Mm-hmm. Should we have children?
So I can't make that decision for you, but I would recommend that you get genetic counseling so that they can really talk to you about what the chances are for your child. Because remember, for each pregnancy, if you have two people who have sickle cell trait, there's a 25% chance in that pregnancy that somebody can have sickle cell disease. So having genetic counseling would be a terrific way to determine how you want to manage that.
Great. And I see an additional question. What are the side effects of the new medications?
So typically the side effects of medication would be headache, nausea, vomiting, because it's something that your body is taking in, some GI distress, constipation, diarrhea. Um, in very rare cases, the crizanlizumab, or the medication that's designed to stop vaso-occlusive crises, has caused people to go into immediate crisis. And so you stop the medication, you give them IV hydration and IV pain medicine. And I have experienced that as a provider, administering the Adakveo and it having an adverse reaction. Any medication can cause a problem, but you need to have somebody who's attuned to what should happen if there's a problem. So if you are having an allergic reaction to, say, Tylenol, typically you do Benadryl, some hydration, those kinds of things. So it's the same thing for anybody who's experiencing a different medication. Don't ignore any signs and symptoms. If you develop a rash or have any swelling that you hadn't had previously, please get that checked out because those things could be considered an allergic reaction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I have to say, I didn't say anything about Sickle Sabbath. So I need to say something about Sickle Sabbath. So Sickle Sabbath is September 15th. And it's a way for us across the United States and all of the churches that are in NB, in the National Baptist Convention, to highlight sickle cell disease and the effects that it has on all of those individuals. Like I said, if there's 1 in 10 people who have sickle cell trait, we know that we have people in our churches who have sickle cell disease. They might not speak up about it because there is some shame and guilt associated with having this chronic illness. But if we are aware, we can help advocate for those people so that they can get better care and they can be treated better when they enter into care. And so it is our job, as our sisters and brothers are struggling with this, to speak up and to learn what we can. So I have completely revamped the toolkit. It is all available on the website. It is free. Download the information. There's speaking points for the pastors to talk about it in church. If you want to give money, and it will go specifically for sickle cell disease research and to help individuals who don't have. So it's a win-win for everybody because we are armoring ourselves with information. We are protecting those who can't protect themselves, which is our job. So I'm done.
Oh, tremendous sharing. The toolkit that Dr. Nelson mentioned, y'all go to HOPENBC.com. Again, that's HOPENBC.com. Download it, read it, digest it, and look at how you can disseminate that information in your churches so that we can make a collective effort to further drive change. Thank you so much for this tremendous sharing and for all that you're doing. We pray that God richly blesses this effort. I don't see any additional questions on social media. And so we've covered a lot. We're going to go on ahead and move on and get ready to close on out. We just want to give a couple of reminders about our September marketing updates. Again, it's National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month, Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month, NBC Hope Sickle Sabbath Sunday on September 15th, and the fact that you can download that toolkit again. I'm going to say it one more time. Download that toolkit at hopenbc.com. And you can also find additional information and resources on that same place. That is our hub for information for sharing that you can take to your churches, to disseminate through your health ministries, and also to apply in your life as well. Just a couple of upcoming events we want to make everyone aware of. The Sunday School Publishing Board Educators Conference is going to be held in Nashville, December 1st through the 3rd of this year. And for more information, if you want, you can email us at info@hopenbc.com. We're going to have our next Hope TempleCare Matters webinar on October 1st, that first Tuesday in October, when we're going to be discussing National Church Safety and Security Month, very important topics, National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. As always, we want to encourage you to join us on the web and on our social media pages. We've said the website several times, and I'm going to say it one more time. It is hopennbc.com. On Facebook, we're at Hope_NBCUSA. And we also have an active YouTube channel where you can check out information and watch previous TempleCare Matters webinars if you happen to mention them or miss them at NBCUSA Hope. If you would like to enroll in the NBCUSA Hope Health Ministry training, it can be done two ways. It can be done either in person, or we're really excited to have some time ago rolled out a self-paced online version. Just let us know. Give us an email at info@hopenbc.com, or you can give us a call at 901-603-0762, and we will be sure to get that information right out to you. We truly value and appreciate feedback. And so we encourage everyone to please kindly complete the survey for this webinar. We're going to paste the link in the chat. It has already been pasted there. Or you can go to hopenbc.com/webinar-survey. Your feedback is very important, and it helps us to continue to improve our efforts for God's glory and people's benefit. We appreciate the tireless work of our entire NBCUSA Hope team. We want to give thanks to our leader, Dr. Michael Miner, Dr. Desi Levy, Sister Lottie Miner. I'm yours truly, Nettie Johnson, Pastor Dexter Morene, Ellen McKnight Hill, Dr. Felisa Washington, Minister Geraldine Moore, Loretta Miller, Dr. Lavoria Williams, Sister Bettina Campbell, Dr. Marianne Talley, and Thomas Duke Robertson. We also want to thank for their work our 7 regional coordinators, Pastor Daniel Blackburn, who's in the Northeast region, Brooklyn Rogers in the Southeast, Pastor Bernard Montgomery, Southwest 1, Linda Carper, Southwest 2, Teresa Fales Farr in the Midwest, Tafara Robinson in the West, and Pastor Richmond Johnson in the far west. If you want to connect with your regional coordinator, again, that same email address. And if you notice this how we're pointing all in the same places, we want to make it simple. You can email info@hopenbc.com. We will connect you to your appropriate regional coordinator. Now, we do realize that some of you may have some additional questions or comments. So as we're going to close the webinar here on Zoom formally in just a moment, the social media aspect, for those joining us via Zoom, we'll then open the mics for question and answers in the Zoom room. We look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday, October 1st for our next TempleCare Matters webinar. And as we close out, we want to acknowledge our leadership, President Dr. Jerry Young, our President-elect, Dr. Boise Kimber. This has been a production of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, the nation's largest Black denomination. May God bless and keep you is our prayer. Goodbye.